So Ace making it all the way into the final, heralded as the best deck in the OP14 format, does very well into the OP14 leaders, right? A lot of the OP14 leaders like Boa, Dracula Mihawk, you know, have good matchups into Emu, but maybe struggle a little bit more into Ace. So we'll know that Boa Hancock matching into this Ace in the finals. We'll see how it goes, right? Especially with Boa's ability to be aggressive and force Ace on KOs potentially to take life. Even though Ace can build up a huge hand, might be able to get all these pokes, all these swings to run Ace out of cards. Boa, if you do not know, on opponent's turn, if you play a character, draw one card and then Dawn ×1 once per turn. If one of your 5,000 power or less Kuja Pirate or Amazon Lily characters would be KO'd, your opponent has to take a life. Listen, if you've seen my videos or you've maybe seen me at an event, I love Nengarden playmats. And especially with Black Friday, now is an insane time to get your very own playmat. Or maybe a gift for somebody else. All of the standard playmats are going to be cut at a discount. And not only that, you've got stickers, pins, apparel, that's also going to be discounted on the website. And these discounts are already so good, and you know I've got a code there for a discount of your own, but it's actually been bumped up to 10% to help you save even more on this Black Friday. Make sure to stack up the savings and get a great gift for either yourself or somebody else this holiday season. The link to Nengarden's website where you can get your next favorite TCG product is in the description below. Thank you so much to Nengarden for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to that video. And so looking at the Boa's hand, we've got a couple Marguerites in the hand. Going to be some nice searches as well as a Sengoku. You've got an unblockable Hina, or I guess what I should say is a block negating Hina, I guess is a better way to put it. And then Gorgon Sisters. You like the Gorgon Sisters in the life rather than in the hand, but you can't complain about having a 2K in my opinion. And the Ace doesn't really have anything to do in the early game, right? We see Jozu in the hand. We see Marco. We see 10 cost Newgate, Roger, and the 8 cost event. I'm not sure who's going first or second in this, but if Ace is on the second curve, that'll be nice to be able to play Marco on his second turn. But if he's on the odd curve, could have an awkward first couple turns. And here we go, Chad, in the finals of the Tokyo Championships Day 2. The second tournament of this weekend, the Boa starting out with the Sengoku. 7 Warlords of the Sea looking at that top 5. Grabs a 4-cost Boa, one of the great cards within this deck, chat. One of the reasons why this card has spiked up in price. This starter deck blocker, so good to be able to get a Rested Dawn on your leader, but also reorganizing your top 3 for stuff like Kuma. So Ace drawing for turn, drawing an Atmos. Nothing really to do, just attaches one, passes the turn. This way, if he does take an attack straight to the dome, he will be able to draw an additional card, but Boa Hancock playing that Marguerite is going to forfeit all of their Dawn for this turn, so no swings coming in, but is going to look at that top 5 for Kuja Pirates, Amazon Lily. We see a couple 9-cost Boas, right, and 2 You'll Frighten Me's. So ops for the Boa Hancock, right? Boa being able to force your opponent to take a life while you heal one is going to be a nice card to play in the later stages of this game, and passes on the other Marguerite, right? Heading into 5, probably going to play the 4-drop blocker Boa. Definitely a card that can be countered by Atmos, right? Atmos being a tech card in these Ace decks, much more becoming a staple, I feel like, in the last several weeks. Is going to be able to remove a 4-cost Boa if he decides to do that, playing the Marco on this turn after Boa takes the first life, going down to 3. Off the life, getting the Hina no trigger. Does find a Perfume Femur, which is a nice card to have. And so now is going to attach 1 and swing 6,000 power with Marguerite. No Dawn attached to the Ace. So will not get that extra draw because of the leader effect, right? You need Dawn ×1 for it. Is going to have to deal with 2 6K swings on this turn. And so is going to use leader effect on the Roger. Go ahead and pitch that. The 4 now coming in for that Boa Hancock, like I mentioned. Reorganizing that top 3. Does find a Kuma and a Ram. Does not find a Kuma and a Gorgon Sisters, but if he goes in next turn and plays the Kuma down, he is going to be able to manipulate what goes in his life, right, as a potential trigger body. Would you rather have the Search, or would you rather have something like the Ran? The Ran, a nice card, right, to be able to get a Dawn consistently on your leader with that activate main every single turn, as the final 6K swing nets a 2K. Did go on the top of the deck Kuma, Marguerite, and Ran, so it looks like Boa eyeing up Marguerite going into the life. Does find a Garp Searcher off the draw for turn. We'll see if he decides to play this Atmos. You do have to reveal 2 Whitebeard Pirates kind of cards to be able to bounce back a character of 4 or less back into the hand. Would be a great counter card to this blocker Boa. No blocks coming in, especially because as you're playing against Boa, right, what you have to do is you have to try to not KO characters, right? We've seen this all weekend long in these Japan Championships, players avoiding the KOs on these different characters so they don't have to self-inflict life. Removal cards like Atmos, very good in this matchup to be able to avoid just that, right? KOing those characters. And so still 2 Dawn as active. Maybe thinking about playing this Garp, potentially doing a Search, although I'm not sure what you're going for if you do. So starts out with the 6,000 power swing, gets a 2K Hina outside of that. And now a 7,000 power swing is going to go down to 2. Takes the 0 cost event, so the 0 cost event is going to be able to make a brick a nice 3,000 power. And he goes in with the Garp, finds an Uta, and also a couple of the 8 cost events. So 2 8 cost events going down to the bottom of the deck. The Uta coming into hand, a nice 2K, is going to pass off the turn to the Boa. We know the Boa, top 3 cards of the deck, drawing the Kuma for turn, is going to have that Marguerite there at the top of the deck if he decides to go ahead and play on his 7 Dawn turn. If you do play that down, you do have to get rid of a card in your hand. And so what do you do? Is going to attach 1 onto leader, right, for that Dawn ×1 effect. If you plan on playing the Kuma, you don't really have a good way to get a Dawn on your leader and this Marguerite, so you got to sacrifice one of the 2. So starts out 6,000 power. No blockers for the ace as of right now. So a 6,000 power swing now at lead. Could just be a 1K Jozu to get out of the attack. Is just going to be exactly that. And there's the Kuma. Kuma going in with that trash. 1 card from hand goes with the blocker Boa that was put back in hand earlier in the turn. Is going to heal life. We know that's the Marguerite. And as that gets played down onto the field, is going to be a nice Search. Kuma now being an 8 cost character. Actually very influential, right? Kuma being an 8 cost character means that he cannot be Jozu'd at this point, which actually matters a lot. And so Ace now going ahead, playing the Newgate. We'll see if he takes the life from the event effect, decides not to. And now the Newgate drawing 2, trashing 1, does find a Red Rock and a 1 cost Garp, forfeits the Red Rock. Attaching 2 Dawn on both a leader and character is going to make this Atmos a 7,000 power swing, in the Ace an 8,000 power swing. Starts off with 7,000 power in Atmos. And so would just be an easy 0 cost event to get out of this. Again, we know that the Marguerite is in the life, so probably going to take it on this leader swing. And so something that we've seen from a couple opponents with the Boa is after a heal with the Kuma, we have seen them not swing. This Ace going with a swing despite knowing full well that there might be a trigger. Oh, and I think I accidentally drew 1 extra card. Oh, no. It just looked like he drew an extra card. Okay, did get 5 cards. Don't worry, chat. Is thinking about grabbing the Ran. The Ran would make it to where your leader effect is very easy in the coming turns, but Ran only a 1K. Right? I would imagine next turn you're playing the 9 cost Boa, is maybe now eyeing up the Gorgon Sisters, right, of quality 2K in the deck. But no, goes with the Ran. Why would you go with the Ran over the Gorgon Sisters? Oh, is just going to trash the Ran off of the Marguerite effect. And then because you played a character on your turn, you go ahead and use the Boa leader effect because you played in a character on the opponent's turn, draw 1 card. So off the draw for turn, finding a 4-cost Boa, still sitting at 2 life, is now going to be at 9 Dawn. Could go ahead with that 9-cost Boa. And so 5,000 power now going at this Atmos. Is going to get that KO on the Atmos. Marco still a blocker that could be used. Would draw 3 cards. The ace at this point, though, here's the thing. Does not have a lot of movement, is really depending on this Garp right now to be able to make plays in the next turn. Boa might be thinking about a 6-cost Kuma again. We drew it off of the leader effect last turn. Now a 7,000 power swing at lead. Still Marco and a Edward Newgate to be able to block. And is thinking about pitching a card from hand. Yeah, Atmos is a 5K. Did I say 6K, chat? That's my bad. I meant to say Marco is a 6K. And so attaching 1 onto leader is now going to swing 6,000 power. Only 8 Dawn left as active. No Boa Hancock coming on this turn. 9-cost Boss Monster may go in with a 6-drop Kuma instead. And so is going to 2K out of that swing. Now going to be swinging with Marguerite. Marguerite now 6,000 power. Only 2 cards in hand for the ace. Is going to go ahead and take 1. Is going to draw 1 card on top of that to go to 4 cards in hand. Does find a 10-drop Newgate. He's going to be able to move next turn. And so now with the Kuma, going to be healing 1 more card, leaving 1 up as active. Is going to be threatening a potential, oh, you'll frighten me. As ace draws another 2K on the top of the deck. Full 10 Dawn, we could see something like the 10-cost Newgate come down onto the field. We'll be able to draw a little bit more cards, but starts out with the Garp. Maybe trying to find a little bit more counter. Does find Radical Beam, but can't grab it. Is eyeing up the 2K Jozu. Now has 2 2Ks in hand. Can still play that 10-cost Newgate because of the 8-cost event. Is going to do exactly that, playing down the 10-cost Newgate. Is going to go ahead, draw 2, trash 1, and then reutilize Dawn. Still has 1 active Dawn, so could go ahead with a 5,000 power swing on the Garp if he wanted to. And is going to do exactly that. At least attaching the last active Dawn for a 5,000 power swing. Is going to net 1 card in hand. Boa now sitting at 3 cards in hand. 8,000 power now going at leader, it looks like. Is going to go ahead, take the life. Is it a trigger body? And looks like it is going to be a Ran. Ran is going to be onto the field. Now you can play a little bit on curve as you draw a card, a 0-cost event. And the Newgate now claiming this life. Going to put this in hand, a Red Rock. Not going to bottom deck anything. Maybe thinking about using it on this turn. Especially with a full board of 5 characters. Maybe you go in with the Red Rock. Now that you have the Slave Arrow, now that you have the 0-cost event, you still haven't done any damage to the ace. Red Rock would be able to bottom deck one of these 10-cost Newgates. Maybe the lone active Newgate. Still has an active Marco blocker. But he's still relatively healthy with 2 life at this point. If you play the Red Rock, not going to have a lot more to do with in terms of playing characters. It would just have 4 active Dawn left. Still a couple 7K swings in the, what's his name? Kuma. And especially with only 4 cards in hand, you know one of them is a 2K in the Jozu that you saw off the Garp search. Maybe just trying to fish for that card. So curious if our Boa player would swing first before playing the Red Rock. And is going to go ahead and swing before the Red Rock potentially. Is going to go ahead and 2K out of that. From the 2K that we know is in the hand. Especially because he didn't do it at first. It makes me think that he's not planning on playing it. Even if he does Red Rock the Whitebeard, still would have a big 12,000 power Newgate. A 6,000 power Marco, and a leader with 10 full Dawn to be able to survive out of the turn. So not an easy spot, I feel like, for this Boa right now. Couple cards in hand, a bit of counter as well. You'll need to leave some Dawn open for the 1-cost event. Goes ahead with 7,000 power at lead. Still have that blocker Newgate up. Is going to go ahead with the ace leader effect, I believe, to minus 2,000 power on the Kuma. Pitching the ace in hand. Still has 2K, 1K. Only 2 cards in hand. I think keeping Red Rock was fine. Is going to go ahead, try to clear this Garp. And now with the 9, is going in with the Boa. The Boa is going to be able to force Ace to take a life as you heal 1. And now with Rand's effect on the activate main, giving Arrested Dawn to your Boa to be able to use a leader effect potentially. But still have 1 Dawn active for the Slave Arrow. The Slave Arrow is a plus 4,000 power, which means that you have a fair amount of counter. You've got 4, 7, 9,000 counter. As well as Ace needing to hit 3 times to be able to win the game. So I don't know if you're afraid of dying right now if you're the Boa. It's definitely scary, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you're afraid of dying. So the Boa establishing a huge body on the field, right? Really puts Ace in a weird position of how many times do you actually want to swing? The more that he swings with these Newgates in the coming turn, that means that's 1 less blocker to be able to prevent these different attacks coming at him. If he swings at the Kumas, gets the KOs, Kuma will heal a life. If he tries to KO or remove some of these Kuja Pirate type characters, which are not even rested anyways, he would in theory have to take a life. I think saving the Red Rock for this upcoming turn, this next turn, because I think Ace is in a position to where he almost needs to swing with one of these Newgates. Double Yamato would be dangerous. Lot of drawing cards. Does have 2 Yamatos, but starts out with a 7K swing. Still has plenty of counter in the hand. Jozu, Otama, Uta, all 2Ks, and a couple 1Ks in the Yamato and the Jozu. Uta blocker could be nice, right? Especially if you have a 10,000 power or higher character on field. Uta costs 2 to play. Could be something that we see in this game to just get an extra blocker on the field to be able to guard against these attacks. Boa only has to hit twice to be able to win. Does have access to stuff like Perfume Femur, which I think the Ace really needs to think about on this turn. So still with this 7,000 power swing, got plenty of time, 9 minutes left in this match. The Slave Arrow looks to be the option here. Now you do have to pick up a 2-cost or higher character to be able to utilize it. So what do you pick up? Maybe thinking about picking up the 3-cost Marguerite, right? A blank card, but goes with the Kuma? Maybe is thinking about at this point, after picking up the Kuma, to potentially play it back down to heal another life. That would be interesting. Now attaching 3 to the Garp is going to be a 1K to get out of it using the 2K Gorgon Sisters. And now swinging in with these Newgates is going to take this first life. It's a trigger body, it looks like. Or, no, not a trigger body. The Boa Hancock, if you do not know, plays a 6,000 power or less Kuja Pirates type character from your hand and a trigger. So not working as we don't have any of those. And ends off the turn playing the Uta. 2 blockers, 5 potential swings on the field, and a Perfume Femur ready to rock and roll. What can Boa do right here? Is Boa just going to try to bait out the Perfume Femur? Or try to get him to take the last life so then he can Perfume Femur and negate all the blockers? If he drew a second Perfume Femur, the game would be over, probably. More than likely. Is thinking about swinging with the Boss Monster Boa first. Could just be a block with this Newgate to not reveal anything in the hand at this point. The Ace with 2 2Ks and 2 1Ks. Still has a life, still has leader effect to be able to minus 2,000 power somewhere. But Ace still's got 2 blockers in the Marco and the Uta. This 6,000 power swing now, trying to net a card, is going to get that Yamato. If he does Red Rock the Marco, this would allow Ace to not draw 3 cards off of the on-KO effect of Marco and the leader effect. Is maybe thinking about playing a Boa. The 3-cost Boa from the original starter decks is just a simple 3-cost blocker. Can still play the 9-cost Boa on this turn. The 9-cost Boa would be able to heal. You would go back up to 2 life. And with Rand's effect, you would be able to put a Rested Dawn onto your leader. But would you be able to live on the clapback is the real question. And so is just going to replay that Kuma back down onto the field. Is going to go ahead, pitch the Red Rock, it looks like, to heal. Maybe is going for the 9-cost Boa. So is going to go with the 9-cost Boa to heal, saving that Red Rock potentially. And so now with Rand's effect, attaching 1/2 leader, may use these last 3 Dawn to play a 3-cost Boa blocker to starve off against some of these swings. Now with the 6,000 power swing at lead, is going to get a 2K, potentially utilizing... Why would you keep Jozu? Yeah, I think keeping Red Rock was correct. It was just unfortunate that he got Slave Arrow, because that changed his plans completely, because the game state changed. And so is going to attach 2, now swing maybe 7. No 8,000 power. Is trying to get a block here. And so is going to go ahead, take that final life. Drawing a card off of leader effect. We see the 5-cost Rush Yamato here. The 6-cost Rush Yamato, I'm sorry, from EBO2, a tech card that we see a lot of Western players use, not really in the East, at least since the beginning of the format. Very good for aggressive game plans. Now going to be swinging 7,000 power, is going to use the 0-cost event on the 6-cost event. If he goes in for game, he's going to need to go all in. Is now going to be a 5K swing, does have the Boa Hancock in hand as a 1K counter, and so is going to go ahead, do that. Ace has got to go all in to be able to win this game. A trigger potentially right here. What is this trigger? Off this Marco swing, putting it in hand, it's the, oh, you'll frighten me. There's no Dawn left as active. I don't know if it would have mattered, depending on what this trigger is. And is going to put it in hand. It's Ran. And so if he goes in with all of this onto the Boa, 6,000 power swing here, gets the game. Ace is going to win. Ace collecting the win. Definitely a good game, I will say. A close game. Definitely a close one. I think was a little tricky. It looked scary at first for the Ace, but drawing out of it, and then Boa kind of having a weird mid game, I think. Why did Ace ditch Marco after taking the life? Oh, because of the Kuma. So the Kuma and the leader effect on the Marco. Yeah, so he leader effected out of this final Kuma swing. That's why. Whoo! Yeah, very close. Very close. Very good game. I do think that Boa was playing like semi-passive at times. It felt like. I don't know if that's totally true, but like the Slave Arrow play on the Kuma to like heal even more was interesting. I would have thought he picked up Marguerite to be able to keep Kuma on the field, because there's a 7,000 power swing that you like automatically lose out on. But I also don't think I think if he had known that he was going to draw into this Boa, he wouldn't have done the Kuma. I feel like there were 2 situations where he had this game plan that made a ton of sense and were good plays, but then he found even better plays that made his previous plays very unfortunate, right? Well, yeah, Marguerite's just a brick, but you can use it off the 0-cost event. And you can potentially keep Red Rock to be able to like bottom deck one of the active blockers. So like the Red Rock trigger, right? A lot of you guys were saying like, oh, he should have just triggered Red Rock. At the time when he first got Red Rock, I think it was a good idea to keep Red Rock. But then drawing into what he did, Red Rock became less and less of a valuable play to make, which is just unfortunate, you know, on the draws. And I think the Slave Arrow is kind of the same thing. Because, like, I see his idea on the Slave Arrow to be able to heal next turn. But as soon as he gets this 9-cost Boa, the Kuma is just like, oh, dang, I wish I would have kept this Kuma on the field and picked up maybe, like, Marguerite instead. Because this 9-drop is just kind of like a better in some situations to be able to heal. He ended up playing the the Kuma again, right? And he just like pitched the Red Rock from hand, or he pitched the Boa from hand. Yeah, he went with the Kuma and he pitched the Boa from hand. I don't know. I would love, like, for later in this format, like when we get to the end of the OP14 format, I would love to see this matchup like played out again. To see like one, maybe if this deck is a little bit more fleshed out and improved upon, but also if you play this any differently. Also, chat, before I forget, I will say I will post the 2 deck lists from this final in our Discord server, along with any other deck list that I see from this championship. So if you want to join the Discord server, do !Discord on Twitch or on YouTube. You can click the link in the description below.